Hey guys, hope you are all doing well today. So we have a matchup between the Lizardmen going up against the forces of the Tomb Kings. This is a matchup that is quite heavily favored for the Tomb Kings. They just have so many ranged options. Great Bow Shopties, the Caskets, Necropolis Knights, and the Sepulchral Stalkers that can really wear down Lizardmen armies over the course of the battle, and they don't really have any really decent answers to that. I'd say the best answer they do have range-wise is the Umbral Tide, but they don't have the greatest range themselves, and they are quite squishy and easy to shoot down. So basically, the Lizardmen are going to be relying heavily on the infantry, the cavalry, and of course the lords and heroes. So for the front line of my Lizardmen army, we have Saurus Warriors with shields, mixed in with one unit of Temple Guards, and the Legion of Chaqua. The Legion of Chaqua comes with a unique ability, giving 44% missile resistance to any units within 30 meters of itself. We have two units of Cold One Riders, both deployed on the left flank. I'm attempting to go for a left flank overload, but once I notice the Casket of Souls is in the battle, I'm probably going to have to start cycling these Cold One Riders around since they make ideal targets for the Casket. We have two units of Skin Cohort with Javelins to stand in the back lines. Main reason I got these guys is just to protect the Umbral Tide from, say, Nehekara Horsemen, or any flanking unit that attempts to shut down the Salamanders. And for our hero, we have the Skink Priests of Beast coming in with Manticore Summon, and for the Lord, we have Krokgar upon a Carnosaur coming in with Hand of the Gods, Sacred Spawning of Zoto, and of course Gold-Blooded. But Hand of the Gods is extremely powerful in this matchup, really good at sniping majority of the Tomb King lords. I forgot to mention, but two Cold One Riders as well in this army just for flanking around, and also shutting down the mobility of the Tomb Kings. And for the Tomb Kings, we have a front line of Skeleton Spearmen, some Great Bow Ushapti, some more, so a mix of Skeleton Spearmen and Skeleton Warriors in the back lines, along with the Casket, two units of Necropolis Knights, and for the Lord and Hero Corps, double Tomb Prince, bringing some anti-large capabilities to the fight, and we have Arkan the Black coming in with Spirit Leech and Soul Blight, along with the Liber Mortis. So very powerful Tomb King army, going to be quite tough to deal with, and I think the biggest danger for the Lizardmen is getting their Cold One Riders along with the Umbral Tide sniped out very early. They're relatively squishy units, and they're relatively costly as well, and losing them early in the battle could prove to be fatal. But anyways, the main reason I actually wanted to show this battle is showing how you can recover from mistakes. I definitely made quite a few mistakes in this battle, and considering this is quite Tomb King favored, I would say that the mistakes are quite dangerous, but persevering and continuing to fight despite a losing situation can do wonders for your army. So just anytime you get caught in a scenario where you think you've made a mistake, don't give up on the battle, just keep on fighting, keep on going, and it could potentially turn out to be somewhat favorable. Anyways, let's get into the battle. The Ushapti Great Bow pull up and start to take some shots into the Cold One Riders, which I was a bit afraid of. Of course, these Cold One Riders in the back are getting targeted by the Casket, and man, that just does so much damage. One lapse in micro, keeping them stationary for a single second, resulted in them losing, 8 models and quite a bit of HP as well. Now the Casket targeting the Saurus Warriors, and the Necropolis Knights going in for some frontal charges. Definitely going to be doing quite a bit of damage to the Lizardmen front lines, and they aren't really backed up by the Umbral Tide or the Cold One Riders as they should have been, which is one of the first mistakes that I made, was not reacting in time to these Necropolis Knights, and they really decimated one unit of Saurus Warriors, and the second one, didn't lose too much HP, and the skink cohort with javelins are returning fire, so not the worst scenario there, but losing one unit of Saurus Warriors is pretty disastrous. And now, unfortunately, due to the fact that the Umbral Tide is so far back from his skink cohort bodyguards, he is going to be routing off the field as well, which is another huge mistake right from the get-go. So already the Lizardmen have taken a very severe loss. Many of their infantry units are overextended and probably will be focused down soon. And the Umbral Tide, of course, is going to be routing off the battle pretty quickly too. These Necropolis Knights have definitely paid for themselves by knocking out Saurus Warriors and then going after the Umbral Tide. And Kroq-Gar is going to be forced to retreat and try and save the Umbral Tide, but unfortunately that doesn't go exactly to plan. One good thing, at least for the Lizardmen, is the fact that the Ushabti Greatbows are open for my Skinks and Saurus Warriors to jump into and destroy. Stopping their fire is extremely vital for this game. Keeping them from firing at Kroq-Gar or the Skink Priest or really any other infantry is vital. We have Cold Wind Riders attempting to flank around and shut down the Cascade, but unfortunately they also have lost a ton of HP. Some get caught up on spears and stuff, and really not the greatest use from these Cold Wind Riders. They've just been focused down the entirety of the battle. The Manticore going after some of these Ushabti with great bows, and now the Cold Ones coming in for a side charge into the Ushabti, but unfortunately they are getting Spirit Leech. Kroq-Gar is way overextended, so far away from the fight, and not really doing the most damage. I forgot to mention that he had a Hand of the Gods. I forgot to catch it, which actually did so much damage to Arkan the Black, you can see, at 1500 HP, and most of that damage was done from the Hand of the Gods. The one thing looking good for the Lizardmen is the fact that their elite infantries at least, such as the Legion of Chaqua and Temple Guard, the Temple Guard are relatively weak, but the Lizardmen infantry will be winning their fight pretty handily. Some Cold Wind Riders do get caught up by Skeleton Spearmen and will likely be paying a deep price for that. And another Hand of the Gods going in, doing so much damage to Arkan the Black. What is he at right now? He's currently at 420 HP, somehow still has 36 leadership, quite surprising. A Skeleton Warrior summon coming in, charging into the back of these Cold Wind Riders and the Legion of Chaqua. And now things are starting to look a little bit better for the Lizardmen. They made some blunders in the early game, losing the Umbral Tide, overextending Kroq-Gar, and picking the wrong matchups for those Cold Wind Riders, but now the infantry seems to be pulling it back. Kroq-Gar, of course, is trying to go after these Ushabti with great bows. Ushabti with great bows are excellent Lord sniping and hero sniping units, and so you really need to hop on top of them as quickly as possible. Oh, no, looks like Kroq-Gar has changed his target to these Necropolis Knights, and they will be crumbling into the ground very, very soon. Let's see who was caught here. Oh, looks like we had some Cold Ones who were caught. Yeah, definitely not the greatest matchup for those Cold Ones. They didn't get ideal matchups, and they usually were caught up fighting some Skeleton Spearmen along the course of the battle. But now the Legion of Chaqua is holding its own against Skeleton Spearmen, double Tomb Prince, and a very weakened Arkan the Black. Usually spear units don't have the best melee attack, but I'd say Saurus spears are an exception to that. It's one thing I love about these spearman units of the Lizardmen is that they can actually deal a beating to any unit they're going up against. With 31 melee attack, it's a decent amount of killing capabilities, and so you really can never underestimate them. And you can see, actually, I forgot to show as it happened, but Arkan is actually dead. And so these spears have managed to take out the Great Arkan. We have an Ushabti summon and double Tomb Prince going after Kroq-Gar, a very dangerous situation for the Lizardmen leadership, since those Tomb Princes and their anti-large will be making quick work of the Carnosaur and the Legion of Chaqua attempting to come in and save him. We'll see if they're able to do that. Yeah, seems like Kroq-Gar will retreat behind the lines of the Legion of Chaqua, and hopefully they will serve as his bodyguards. one big thing looking favorable for the Tomb Kings is that they still have a relatively healthy unit of Necropolis Knights, about half HP, and they can definitely deal a ton of damage through cycle charging to the Lizardmen. Currently going up against some Tomb Guard, which really, well, not the greatest matchup for them. They choose to just run through them, as I would have done as well. Temple Guard definitely can do quite a bit of damage to the Necropolis Knights, and now they're going after Krokgar, and with their armor piercing, they will definitely be able to take care of this Carnosaur with only 135 HP. The Lizardman Lord has now fallen into the ground. The Necropolis Knights do get rear charged by some Temple Guards and take some damage for it, but they still have enough models to do some dangerous cycle charging in this battle. The entire Lizardman army at this point is basically based around the Legion of Jaquaw, and the balance of power is still very, very equal. It's still a very close fight, despite the blunders of the Lizardmen early on in the battle. They are still very much in this fight, and now the Necropolis Knights, surrounded by the Legion and the Temple Guards, will likely be falling very soon, unless they can manage to get out and get some more cycle charging. The Tomb Princes, of course, are quite tough to take down, but they are anti-large, and so they really won't be, their ideal targets are not infantry units like those Temple Guard and the Sar Spears. They do manage to get some routes on Sars Warriors just Sars Warriors along with these Skink cohorts. And yeah, seems like they are just going to clean up routing units from the battle for now. Where are these Necropolis Knights? So the Necropolis Knights, okay, so they're in the back also chasing off units. And they are currently crumbling, right? Crumbling. They might be able to get a charge off or two into the Temple Guard as they crumble, since they do still have 754 HP, so they'll definitely be able to get a charge off or two into the Temple Guard, and that could prove to be enough for the Tomb Kings as the Tomb Princes go in for a final fight. Nope, just going for some cycle charging, which is not allowed according to tournament rules, but the Necropolis Knights do come in just in time to save them, potentially. The Tomb Princes, now engaged in battle, are going to be surrounded by the Sar Spears, and the Necropolis Knights are probably going to crumble into the ground any moment now. And now it's just going to be the Tomb Princes going up against Temple Guards and the Legion of Jaquaw, which is still at around half HP. And I really don't see too many options for the Tomb Kings to take down a relatively healthy unit of Sar Spears. The Temple Guard have been rear charged by the Necropolis Knights and may be routing from the field relatively quickly. These Necropolis Knights are just staying in the battle for so long, and they finally do fall. And that just leaves the Tomb Princes, who also begin to crumble into the ground. And with that, the Lizardmen, some Temple Guard, and the Legion of Jaquaw do win the battle. And let's check out how each unit did. So, of course, the biggest mistake for the Lizardmen is in the bottom row. The Cold One Riders, along with the Umbral Tide, basically had no impact on the battle whatsoever. The Umbral Tide was routed almost instantly due to those Necropolis Knights, and the Cold One Riders were screened out relatively effectively by the Skeleton Spearmen. But I think the big thing was, of course, just sticking around in the fight, letting the Lizardmen infantry do the damage that they're brought into the battle to do. Sars Warriors, Sar Spears, and Temple Guards are relatively elite infantry, and they will make quick work of Skeleton Spearmen and Skeleton Warriors. And so just sticking to the guns of the Lizardmen, sticking to those Temple Guard and Sars Warriors, really helped them pull out this match. Krokgar was also, even though it didn't seem like it, he was also vital to this matchup. Him and his Hand of the Gods were essential in knocking Arkin the Black out of the fight. And I think for the Tomb Kings, they did fight relatively well. I think those Necropolis Knights in the beginning were very, very overextended, trying to chase down the Umbral Tide, which was already routed off the field. And so if they were back in the fight, doing some cycle charging to the Lizardmen infantry, they definitely could have won this fight easier, I'd say. And same with the Ushabti Great Bows, they were overextended in my opinion as well. They didn't really have the support of spears, where they could have continued to fire over the entire course of the battle and knocked out Kroq-Gar along with the Skink Priest very, very quickly. And yeah, so well fought battle to both sides. Definitely, even though it is Tomb King favorite, I'd say that the Lizardmen do have a somewhat of a fighting chance in this battle if they just stick to their guns and continue in the fight. Even if they lose too many units, even if they lose their Lord, even if they lose, say, the Umbral Tide or Cold One Riders, just sticking to their guns and continuing through this type of fight against an undead faction can result in victory if you just continue the fight. Anyways, I hope you enjoyed this battle. Remember to like and subscribe if you enjoyed the content, and I will see you guys in the next one.